Good morning, writers. We've been working on our informational writing for this school year. So today I'm going to get to walk you through developing your subtopics and determining what your subtopics should be in your writing. So first, we're going to kind of review the things that you guys worked on last week. All right. So we have finding subtopics within our topics. So this is our goal. Our goal is to determine the subtopics for my research. So here's what we did last week. We had that chart from Miss K all about what matters to me. So after filling out my chart, I kind of made some connections like, okay, so education for all. I like to read. I go to school and I really enjoy where I teach. All right. So then taking this, I kind of culminated it all together and I was like, wait a second. Okay, so reading is important to me, education, and one of my favorite people to follow on Twitter is Jason Reynolds. He's an author. He writes books for boys and today's youth. He sees himself as a role model with children. So he's a pretty important person. So then, well, what about that? You guys already did this web. So here's my Jason Reynolds web. So books for today's youth, award-winning author, sees self as a role model. My questions are where did he grow up? Why did he begin reading books? And what got him writing? What's his inspiration? So right now, you're going to watch a short video as I map out a fresh web based on my facts and other things that I've been learning and reading about Jason Reynolds. So enjoy this short little video. So first, I'm just going to start with Jason Reynolds. Then branch off and think about those topics. He's an author. Growing up, where did he grow up? Active during our COVID quarantine on Twitter. And finally, he's a role model for our youth. Then I can just kind of branch out from here on each block. Okay, so now you can see that my full graphic organizer is really quite full, actually. There's even stuff down here about Quam Alexander and Angie Thomas. So if we look at this, I'm still starting with my original topic about Jason Reynolds, the author. But then it seems like there's really a lot more to him. So not just an author, but more importantly, something about books about race, where he's open about the different challenges of different races and how one of his first books was I'm Jason and I'm Jason too, and it was him and a white man, both authors, both named Jason, where they're kind of writing about their experience of growing up as Jason, being Jason. So we have the books about race and we have the books about youth. So really, we have, and there's, in Ghost, one of his books for youth, there's a lot of violence at home and even a character who faces those financial burdens. So maybe instead of just being an author, I should say an authentic author of books for youth about real topics that kids face. Okay, so that kind of, there's a bigger subcategory now. More than just being an author. Okay, so let's look at another one. Let's look at role model for youth. And this is one where I really want to research a little bit more too, because I know he's super active, but I can't quite remember the details. So I might have some questions that I want to research. later. So I do know that he visits with leaders, like people on the news, and he visits with people who are at schools. And he really is kind of an advocate for reading and for finding books that you will actually like. So role model for youth, as he's an advocate for them. Also, he hated reading, so he wanted to create books that kids would love. So again, he's very authentic and honest, and he speaks to youth. So an advocate and role model for youth might be that second then subtopic. All right, so then, even when the country is in hard times, he is still an active member and supporting the youth, supporting the reading community. And even during our COVID lockdown, we had a lot of race riots and a whole lot more happening in our country. And he was one of the people on Twitter that reached out and said, hey, I can help support you in this. So he was an active Twitter member during COVID, having those discussions about race with his fellow authors. So he's also partnering up for his purposes and what he wants to envision himself as based on his beliefs and his values. Also, he would create little challenges to keep kids engaged. And I'm thinking that this probably had something to do with the mental health of the youth around the United States at the time, possibly. So I'm putting that question mark there. Like, is this true or is this not? So I'm thinking active member during COVID and race conflicts in the U.S. So as you can see, my subtopics just like boomed. They went from just a few little words to, okay, so really what am I getting at about that? So Jason Reynolds, my first one might kind of be that he is an authentic author of books for youth about real topics. That might be my number one. And then he is also an advocate and a role model to the youth that we have in our classrooms today and in the United States. And then finally, this third topic about being an active member and trying to even keep the mental health of that youth up and going during our challenges. So this, where is he from? Those might be some cool fast facts, but for right now, I'm thinking that this is really what my topic is going to be all about. All right, so step one for Monday's work is to develop that new and improved web. Then you're going to develop your subtopics, and you will submit that work. Happy writing!